Billy the Kid was one of the most notorious outlaws of the American Old West. He was born in New York in 1859, but moved with his family to New Mexico, where he lost his mother and father. At the age of 14, he ran away from home and began stealing horses and cattle. He escaped from prison twice, but was pursued and killed by Sheriff Pat Garrett in 1881. His violent and short life inspired many legends, movies, books, and songs. In 1906, at the Turkey Track Ranch, one of the earliest and largest cattle ranches in the Texas Panhandle, 4 men were engaged in a game of skill and courage with their pocket knives. The game was called Mumble Peg and involved throwing the knife into the ground, aiming for a series of challenging targets. The loser had to retrieve a nail from the ground with their teeth, while the winner boasted of their dexterity. In the mid-19th century, 2 German immigrants, Henry Miller and Charles Lux, joined forces to create a cattle empire on the American West Coast. They started as butchers in San Francisco, but soon realized the potential for expanding their business into cattle ranching, beef processing, as well as agriculture and irrigation. In 1858, they formed the Miller and Lux Partnership, which became the largest integrated cattle and canned meat company in the country. In the 19th century, rifles were firearms characterized by very long barrels, measuring between 28 and 32 inches, approximately 71 to 81 centimeters. These long barrels allowed for greater accuracy and shooting range. An example of these rifles can be seen in a photograph of the guards of the Astoria Express Company in Oregon, USA, taken around 1880. In this historical photo, we see 2 young men from Pueblo, a city in the American state of Colorado, in the year 1888. They are dressed in typical Old West hunter attire, including hats, vests, and boots. They hold in their hands 2 firearms commonly used at the time, a Winchester Model 1886 rifle. Donaldina Cameron was a young woman who had a quiet and cozy life, but decided to abandon it to undertake a mission that required courage and determination. For 47 years, from 1895 until her retirement, she fought against criminals who brought Chinese girls to the United States and exploited them as slaves and prostitutes. In this photo, we see a cowboy whose name and origin are unknown, but he appears to have come from Caldwell, a city in the state of Kansas, USA. He carries several weapons, such as a rifle and a revolver, which may be useful for defending himself against wild animals or thieves on the long journey he must undertake with his cattle herd. The Tabor Opera House is a 3-story theater known for its robust architecture. Its walls are made of bricks that measure 16 inches thick, giving it great strength and durability. The theater was built in 1881 and still maintains its charm and elegance, showcasing how it has withstood the test of time. On October 17, 1906, the Deadwood Theater was packed with spectators. Actor Charles Chapin, who was part of the theatrical company performing that night, recorded in his diary his impression of the audience. He mentioned that the people in that mining town had great wealth from gold mining in the Black Hills, and they spared no expense when it came to entertainment and spending their money freely. Roy Rogers, one of the early artists to sing cowboy songs in films, is wearing a custom-made shirt by Nathan Turk, a tailor who immigrated from Russia to Los Angeles. Turk specialized in creating Western-style clothing for movie stars and musicians, and he was responsible for all the shirts Rogers wore in his 1940s film productions. Wedding portrait of Vera McGinnis and Earl Simpson. They shared a passion for rodeo, where they met and excelled, but it wasn't enough to preserve their relationship. After their divorce, Vera McGinnis and Earl Simpson went their separate ways. Vera continued to participate in rodeos and became a champion in relay racing and horse riding. In the early 20th century, a group of cowboys worked at the 3 Seas Ranch, a cattle farm located near the town of Duncan, Arizona. On a sunny day around 1902, they paused their activities to enjoy a simple yet flavorful outdoor lunch. Among them was William McDonald. This photograph, taken by Solomon Butcher, depicts a settler family living in a sod house in Custer County, Nebraska. A sod house is a type of construction made from blocks of earth cut from the prairie, used by settlers who established themselves on the Great Plains of the United States and Canada in the 19th and early 20th centuries. This photograph shows a scene from the American West in the 19th century. It features a small boat anchored on the banks of the Colorado River at a place called Mirror Bar in the Black Canyon, which was part of the Nevada Territory at the time. The photographer was Timothy O'Sullivan, a renowned professional who captured images of the American Civil War and geological expeditions across the country. He documented this landscape in 1871. In 1903, the 5th Cavalry held a parade at Fort Apache, an old United States military base in Arizona. From this scene, you can observe the Officers' Row, a set of houses where Army officers lived. These houses are the only structures that still retain the original appearance of Fort Apache, which was founded in 1870 and deactivated in 1922. In this historic photo, we see General George A. Custer, a famous military leader of the United States, and his wife Elizabeth Custer, a writer who chronicled their experiences on the frontier. They are seated in front of their tent, which served as their temporary residence and command center during military campaigns. Beside them is their pet dog, a greyhound which was a popular breed among the officers. San Antonio was known for its culinary tradition of chili, a dish made with meat and peppers that was prepared and sold by women known as chili queens. They set up their stalls in Military Plaza, where Texans gathered to enjoy chili con carne in the open air. This scene was common since the 1880s, before Texas rebelled against Mexico and became an independent republic. Samuel Knight was born in the state of Maine, USA, in 1838. When he was young, he moved to California, where there was a significant gold rush. There, he worked as a millwright, crafting mills used to grind the gold ore extracted from the mines. He lived in California during the American Civil War, which occurred between 1861 and 1865. Ned Huddleston was a slave born in Arkansas in 1849, who became an outlaw and cattle rustler in the Wyoming Territory in the late 19th century. He changed his name to Isam Dart and used various aliases, such as Black Fox, Tan Mex, and Calico Cowboy. He worked as a cook, clown, rider, and horse tamer in various Western locations. He was involved in horse and cattle theft in Mexico and Texas. After a lengthy pursuit by the United States Army, attempting to force the Nez Perce to leave their traditional lands, Chief Joseph and his followers were surrounded in a mountainous region in northern Montana, near the Canadian border. On October 5, 1877, Chief Joseph decided to surrender to General Oliver Howard, and Colonel Nelson A. Jacob Jake Hawken was one of the many firearms manufacturers dedicated to producing rifles for hunters and fur traders in the 19th century. However, the guns he created stood out from the rest for their quality and durability. He was responsible for developing the first model of a muzzleloader, a type of rifle loaded from the muzzle and known for its robust and reliable structure. In the late 19th century, a significant gold discovery in the Klondike River in the Yukon Territory, Canada, sparked one of the largest gold rushes in history. In 1897, approximately 100,000 people from different countries and continents set out for Alaska, the gateway to the Yukon, in hopes of striking it rich with the precious metal. John Liver-Eating Johnson was a mountain man who lived in the Rocky Mountains in the 19th century. He began a personal war against the Crow tribe after they murdered his wife. Due to his strength, skill, and cruelty, he was highly sought after by the Crow and other enemies, but also deeply respected by fur trappers working in the region. In this historic image taken by photographer Timothy O'Sullivan in 1868, we see a laborer driving a cart with iron wheels. He is transporting ore extracted from the mines of the Savage Works, a company that exploited the rich silver deposit in Virginia City, Nevada. The photo is part of a series documenting the harsh working conditions of miners at the time. The cowboy shirts we see today have a style and flair that originated from Old West shows and rodeo competitions in frontier regions. These events were popular among cowboys and the audience who admired their skills and bravery. Cowboy shirts were made of colorful fabrics and embroidered with designs representing cowboy culture and identity. Trail Boss is a bronze sculpture with polychrome patina, created by Texas artist Robert Summers in 1993. The artwork depicts a trail boss, who was the leader of the cowboys driving cattle through the American West in the 19th century. The sculpture is located in Ogallala, a small town in southwest Nebraska, which was a significant stopping point on the Western Trail route. The artwork pays tribute to the cowboys and others who died in this region and were buried in Boot Hill, an old cemetery named because many of the deceased were buried with their boots on. The sculpture has a historical plaque and is situated on a hill overlooking the town.